Live on the early line on this Wednesday on SportsGrid, the two premier NBA handicappers break it down for you before we get to college hoops on this Wednesday night as well. Of course, what a day it was in Milwaukee yesterday. The Bucks firing first-year head coach Adrian Griffin after only 43 games, despite winning 30 of those 43 and having the second-best record in the Eastern Conference, tied for the second-best record in all of the association. Milwaukee in its first game tonight without Adrian Griffin on the sidelines. Joe Prunty is the interim head coach. Will Doc Rivers officially be named the head coach by the time they tip tonight inside the Pfizer Forum? The Bucks a 6.5-point favorite against the Cleveland Cavaliers. All eyes on Milwaukee. The over-under 237. Donnie, we were talking about this game during the break. Is there any chance in the world with a referendum-type game the Bucks do not cover as a 6.5-point favorite against the Cavs, blowing Cleveland out by double digits?
Or at least it might be one of those, Ben, look, first quarter bet here on the Milwaukee Bucks where they're going to come out and maybe enforce their thoughts of, you know what? It was the coach's fault. Watch this. We're up 31-17 at the end of the first. Or is it going to be the narrative where you see that 6.5-point number and say, yeah, that makes a little bit of sense, and now up to 7. But this is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Are they not the hottest team in the NBA right now, just absolutely wrecking shop everywhere they go? So you're going to face that narrative against a team that really wants to win and is playing well in the Cavaliers. I'm more of I'll take the Cavaliers to cover full game, but they might have to weather the first quarter storm here in Milwaukee.
Yeah. The Cavaliers, the hottest team currently in the NBA, winners of 8 in a row. Part of the reason you could argue, if you're doing the odds evaluation, that Milwaukee was less than pleased despite a 30-13 record with Adrian Griffin's performance as the head coach is because it felt very stale. Not only the schemes, both on both sides of the floor, not only his incorporation of Damian Lillard into the lineup in Milwaukee, but 16-26-1 against the spread is the cover record for the Bucks. Third worst cover percentage in the NBA. 15-25-1 against the spread when booked as the favored side. Meanwhile, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, a good cover team this year, 22-17-2 against the spread. In this 8-game win streak, they have covered in 7 of the 8, but booked as a favorite in all 8 games, also under in 5 of the 8 games as well. I like the idea opening half, opening quarter, Milwaukee with something to prove tonight inside the Pfizer Forum. Next up, we go out to the Western Conference. The Dallas Mavericks have seen Luka Doncic return to the fold and lose 2 consecutive games with Luka out there despite 33-point triple-doubles in both of those 2 games. 240.5 the total tonight in Dallas as the Mavs get ready to welcome in the Phoenix Suns. A 2.5-point spread in favor of Phoenix. If the Cavs are the hottest team in all the association, 8 consecutive wins, Phoenix is the hottest team in the Western Conference, Donnie. Make that 6 in a row now for Phoenix.
This is what we're finally waiting for, Ben. Look at the anticipated starting lineup. No injuries here. Booker, Beal, Allen, Durant, and Nurkic. And also, doesn't that line tell you a little bit? Yes, playing great basketball now, but also favorites on the road against a quality opponent here in the Mavericks who are expected to have Doncic and also Irving in the lineup. But if you don't want to take the side, a little bit nervous of the Suns, maybe they can fall back here and not be playing as well as we thought they were playing. Well, take a look at that total, 240s here. I think we get a lot of points out of both sides here. Triple-double certainly on the market here for Luka Doncic, but also a big performance out of that Suns offense. They're finally healthy. Let's see what they have. I'll back them tonight against the Mavericks.
Luka Doncic has scored 33 points in both of his games since returning to the lineup. His points prop tonight, 33.5. Lost in the historic night on Monday, by the way, with Karl Anthony Towns scoring 62 and Joel Embiid having a 70-point, 18-rebound performance, was the 43 points scored by Kevin Durant, including a double-clutch game winner at home against the Chicago Bulls. It was magical what KD did on Monday night for Phoenix. Their 6th consecutive victory did not cover as a 5.5-point home favorite against Chicago. In fact, the Suns are the second worst cover team in the NBA, even worse than the Milwaukee Bucks, in just 10, 19, and 2 against the number when booked as the favorite side, although only laying 2.5 points tonight on the road in Dallas. We go to San Francisco up next The Golden State Warriors, 6.5-point favorite against the Atlanta Hawks. Now, a lot of speculation around this Atlanta roster with DeJounte Murray being floated as a trade piece ahead of the deadline in the association. 235, the number 4 Golden State. This is their first game, of course, since the unfortunate and untimely passing of their assistant head coach, Dejan Milojevic, who passed away suddenly last week due to a heart attack. Golden State back on the floor tonight as a 6.5-point favorite at home inside the Chase Center.
We do know rest is a big advantage here, and Golden State certainly has that, but these are really unique circumstances here. There's two thoughts of process heading into this game. They've had some time to reflect. The NBA gave them the right amount of time. Take those next 2 games off, get your, affairs in order, be able to, go out and say, you know what, all right, we're going to move past this here. We're going to remember our coach, and we're going to honor him playing in a game, because I do like that. It's going to be an emotional night in Golden State tonight, which I do think might be a detriment maybe off the bat. But if we're looking at that number here, that is a strong Golden State line here that we're taking a look at based on the fact that they are rested here. But certainly, how much practice were they getting in? How much focus on an NBA game situation? Sometimes, Ben, as we know, professional athletes, where are they safest there? Playing on the basketball court. You can leave all those issues of the world behind and just get after it. And I do expect a big effort for Golden State tonight. And also, no Trae Young once again in the lineup here for Atlanta Hawks anticipated. I'm going to take the Golden State Warriors in an emotional game back in San Francisco to get the winning cover tonight.
Golden State had a winning record, 15-14, entering their Christmas Day game against the Denver Nuggets. They have lost in this recent span 8 of their last 11, just a 3-8 record. As the favorite this year, not the best covering numbers for Golden State, 7-16 against the spread. But it will be an emotional night in San Francisco as Golden State honors their former assistant coach, Dejan Milojevic, as he passed away suddenly last week. Elsewhere around the association tonight, we go to San Antonio, where the Oklahoma City Thunder on the second leg of a back-to-back. They won last night in a controversial and contentious ending at home against the Portland Trailblazers. Jalen Williams, the game-winning shot under 10 seconds remaining in regulation, but OKC did not cover as a 13.5-point favorite against the San Antonio Spurs. Now an 8-point favorite, having to make the trip from Oklahoma City to San Antonio, second leg of a back-to-back, over under 242.
Yeah, as long as Wembanyama's in the game and he's going to be anticipated in that starting lineup once again tonight, I'll take the points here. I'm always, look, again, rested and ready is one thing. We know the San Antonio Spurs aren't a great team here, but the Thunder coming off that controversy and also not playing a great game against the Trailblazers, who are a bad basketball team. I'll take the points at home with the Spurs tonight, Ben.
As you look at this matchup as well, we've talked a lot about the NBA MVP awards. Victor Wembanyama, back to the odds-on favorite to win NBA Rookie of the Year, -125 in front of Chet Holmgren, who will play tonight for Oklahoma City in that projected lineup. Even money for Chet at +100. Also kind of lost in the 70-point, 18-rebound performance Joel Embiid all wowed us with on Monday was Victor Wembanyama in that game, scoring 33. His points prop tonight, 23.5 for most of the early portion of this NBA season and Vic's rookie campaign. That number 17 and a hook, 18.5, now 23.5. San Antonio, one of 3 teams, Donnie, around the NBA with less than double-digit wins this season. Well, there's a team that just got the double digits because they had a dramatic fourth-quarter comeback against Minnesota on Monday night, despite Karl Anthony Towns scoring 62 points. That's the Charlotte Hornets. They have 10 wins now, but they just traded Terry Rozier. They could be in a fire sale. Charlotte on the road tonight against the worst team in the NBA. That would be the Detroit Pistons. A 4-win season so far for Detroit. Somehow, some way, Donnie, booked as the 3.5-point favorite at home tonight in the Motor City.
You're supposed to look at that line as a handicapper and say that is a stone-cold Pistons line because that team stinks and they're favored. They should never be favored. But then again, you bring up the points. Right. Charlotte isn't a very good team, and they're in flux right now. And still having said that, I will take the Charlotte Hornets in this basketball game because why? Detroit should never be a favorite in any basketball game. Should Detroit win, I'll tip my cap and move on. But no, I'm not laying points with Detroit. Nope, no way.
Nor should you. The Detroit Pistons have only been booked as a favorite 3 times, unsurprisingly, for a team that has the worst record in the NBA, 4-39. 3 times a favorite, 40 times an underdog. They're not good covering numbers regardless, but as a favorite, 0-3 both straight up and against the spread, not covering by an average margin of 14.5 points per game, losing outright by an average margin of 12 points per game. I was surprised to see Detroit as a 3.5-point favorite. We go from Detroit to Chicago. Well, really, Evanston, the land of Lincoln battle tonight in college basketball. Number 10, Illinois, on the road in Welsh Ryan Arena. A house of horrors for ranked teams in Big Ten play. The Illini with Terrence Shannon Jr. back into the fold, now a 3.5-point road favorite in Evanston against Northwestern. Illinois won the first matchup between these in-state rivals earlier this year by 30 points, but that was in Champaign. This is in Evanston. What's your breakdown tonight in the Big Ten?
Yeah, we're going to go with Illinois in this game because you are getting a boost back that's not technically in the numbers just yet here, lining up with Terrence Shannon. But also, Northwestern, how do you win these basketball games, Ben? Dig in, play good defense. You know who's the worst defensive team in Big Ten play? It's Northwestern here. You know who fouls more than any other team in Big Ten play? It is Northwestern here. You know who's 13th out of 14 teams at defending the three-point line? It's Northwestern. You know who's 13th out of defending inside the arc out of 14 teams? It's Northwestern. Give me Illinois in a rout in Evanston tonight. How about that?
Give me the Cats plus 3.5 and sprinkle that money line at plus 126. Northwestern has a 5-4 straight-up record against ranked opponents in the last 2 years. The only Big Ten team with more wins against a ranked foe is Purdue, and the Boilermakers have 5 of them this year. You don't walk into Welsh Ryan Arena and come away with a victory easily if you're a ranked opponent. Give me the Cats, who are a perfect 3-0 at home, by the way, including a victory over then number 1 Purdue, now number 2 in the country, back on the first day of December. We talked about this game earlier on in the show. What a showdown in the SEC tonight. In Tuscaloosa, the Crimson Tide host the Auburn Tigers. Yes, Auburn is ranked inside the top 10, but they're a 3.5-point dog tonight against Alabama.
Auburn, number 1 defense in the SEC so far. Also, Auburn, number 1 at turning the basketball over against their opponent. Why is that important? There's 14 teams in the SEC. Do you know who turns the basketball over more than any other SEC team? It's Alabama. Now, we know, living and dying by the three-point line, Alabama can do that. You know who's number 1 at defending the three-point line in the SEC? That is Auburn's defense. Also, if we're taking a look at point distribution here, 40% of the points of Alabama come from the three-point line. 12th out of 14 teams that letting you score from the three-point line, that's Auburn. It's a great matchup for Auburn defensively against Alabama. Auburn handles Bama on the road tonight.
What a road win that would be for the Auburn Tigers. These two teams atop the SEC, the Crimson Tide 4-1, the Tigers the best record, a perfect 5-0. That total of 161.5 speaks to the pace of the Alabama Crimson Tide. K-State, one of the best records in Big 12 play, 4-1, but they're a 7.5-point dog tonight in Ames against Iowa State. That speaks to the magic that is Hilton Coliseum. A best bet coming your way up next, live right here on the Early Line.